So welcome to New Zealand Travel News, the segment where we go over the news that people looking to travel to or around New Zealand may care about. We are the team behind NZPocketGuide.com, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. I am Robin, and this is Laura.
All right, let's start with some quite light-hearted news about New Zealand, starting with the Tokyo 2020/2021 Olympics.
It's 2021.
So, as the Tokyo 2020/2021 Olympics Games are underway, New Zealand medal tallies climbs up. So here's a quick recap of the current medal wins by Team NZ at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. So New Zealand has won themselves 5 rowing medals, 2 rugby medals, and for tennis, gymnastics, and triathlon, 1 medal each. Sorry. And so that's for a total of 10, with hopefully more on the way.
So that means that New Zealand is currently ranked number 10 in the list of countries by Olympic medal at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. And there will be, I'm going to be super optimistic, there will be some more medal on the way, with today on Sunday a Dame Valerie Adams, which is going to be competing at throwing a big, really heavy ball. What's the name of that sport already?
Shot put.
Shot put, yeah. She's going to be competing at shot put, and she's one of our most experienced Olympic athletes, so pretty sure she's going to bring on some shinies for us.
Yes. Okay, next in the travel news, we have news about the Australia travel bubble reminder. So, quarantine-free travel from Australian states and territories is suspended from the 24th of July 2021. Return green flights from Australia to New Zealand have ended. If you are currently anywhere in Australia, except for NSW, which is New South Wales, you will not be able to travel back to New Zealand until red flights start. This means you will need to book a spot in managed isolation or quarantine. The suspension will continue for at least 8 weeks and will be reviewed in September. The only current two-way quarantine-free travel bubble with New Zealand is the Cook Islands, a small nation in the South Pacific.
So that's right. New Zealand is still holding on to its policy of tolerating 0 cases in the country, which means that as soon as some cases started to spring up in Australia, the travel bubble was suspended. And so, yeah, we don't expect anything to be reopening before the end of September at the earliest, when the situation will be re-evaluated. However, there will be some border news in August, when the New Zealand government will announce its plan for border reopening in the future. We don't expect much reopening before 2022, just because, well, things are going to go really slowly and they're going to take a very cautious approach. And it will all depend about the vaccine intake in New Zealand as well, which is still quite low. So stay tuned, we'll keep you updated.
Okay, we have a piece of travel news from Radio New Zealand, published on the 28th of July 2021, and the title is Milford Sound, Cruise Ships Could Be Banned from Inner Harbour. So the Milford Sound Opportunities Master Plan has outlined recommendations for the tourist destination. The Milford Opportunities Master Plan outlining recommendations for the destination was launched on Wednesday in Te Anau. Project Governance Group Chair Dr. Keith Turner said numbers into Pio which is the Maori name for Milford Sound, peaked at 870,000 visitors in 2019, up from 430,000 in 2013. Under the recommendations, New Zealanders would not need to pay access to Pio, but private vehicle parking would be limited. International visitors would either pay for a parking permit or use a park and ride system to get into Milford Sound. Another recommendation includes closing the Milford Sound airstrip and not allowing cruise ships into the inner sound.
So that's obviously the big news of the week in the travel industry, and that's not really going to change too much the life of travelers in New Zealand, but there is still some items. So when it says about not allowing cruises around Milford Sound, don't be afraid. That doesn't mean you can't take a cruise from Milford Sound to go and visit the Sound. It's mostly for the really big cruise ship. Famously, the Queen Elizabeth II cruise ship used to sail into Milford Sound, and it's not necessarily the best way to do things. So yes, don't be afraid. It won't really change if you're just traveling around New Zealand and want to do a small 2-hour cruise around Milford Sound. That's still going to be allowed. when it comes down to the airstrip, it's true the airstrip is taking one of the biggest flatlands in the country, so in the area. So if you are planning some further developments, you need to find land somewhere, and there is only a handful of sending flights operating over there for only a selected handful of tourists. So therefore, you're gonna have to break some eggs to make an omelette at some point. And the last thing is paying for parking. So it's kind of a way for the government to be able to basically incentivize more tourists to take the buses, because the roads in Milford Sound, the road to Milford Sound, is quite dangerous. So for this reason, I feel that putting quite a high price tag on having to drive down to Milford Sound, since for parking you will have to pay quite a lot, may incentivize people to take the bus, and therefore you will have less congestion on the road, as well as more, just experienced drivers, since the bus drivers that drive back and forth there are pretty experienced. So that's kind of the train of thought behind that. However, none of those is actually going to take effect right now. They are all propositions that will have to be taken in consideration by the destination management organization down there. So we'll keep you updated if things change.
All right, and our final piece of travel news for this little segment is one of the awesome travel deals that we have found recently. So Skydive Franz Joseph, Skydive Mount Cook, and Skydive Abel Tasman have all got a really good deal for their locations, for their Skydive drop zones at the moment. So at the moment, it's 499 New Zealand dollars for 2 people to jump from 13,000 feet, or 699 New Zealand dollars for 2 people, again, to free fall from 16,000 feet.
And so yes, every single week we will pick one deal that we think is a really good deal around New Zealand, just to tell you about it and see if you're keen on that. So yes, that's for Skydive Franz Joseph, Skydive Abel Tasman, and Skydive Mount Cook. Check them out.
Yeah.
All right, so that wraps up this news segment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to reward our hard work and stay up to date with all our videos. Plus, check out nzpocketguide.com for thousands of tips, hidden gems, and much more. Let's go back to the live chat. What has been happening right here?